Jami Gertz.
Because you know me forever, ever.
Yeah, we have.
Forever, ever.
We've
Yes.
been. I've been blessed to be on this journey with you. Yeah, thank you, Jamie, for being here. And yeah, let's just start from I guess the beginning, right? Like, and I think for me, just when we came into each other's life, when you came into my life at Homeboy Industries, right?
Yes.
You were working on a movie,
Yes.
right? A Better Life.
A Better Life. It was my first time producing a movie.
Right. And I think that's kind of that's how we came into each other's life, right? I was at Homeboy Industries, fresh out of prison, trying to get my life back together. And you're producing the first movie, right?
It was the very first movie that we were doing. Chris Weitz was the director.
Right.
And it's a beautiful movie about an undocumented worker who's a gardener and his American-born teenage son. And it was, I read the script. You read so many scripts,
right.
And, if you're lucky, something moves you when you
Yeah.
read the script, right? And you're like, I was crying while reading the script. I was like, this is so beautiful. And when we got into it and got into the creative process, Chris was adamant that we be as authentic as we could be.
Mm-hmm.
And the young son in the movie is being heavily recruited by different gangs in his city. And so Chris knew of Homeboys and he held auditions there. You had done one other project.
Southland.
Right.
But
we hadn't seen Southland.
You hadn't seen nothing, yeah.
So we held auditions and you kind of got the bigger part in the movie for, people. And we were just happy that we could help in kind of, I don't even know if you call Homeboys a recovery program, but it's like a life-changing program.
Correct.
And so the fact that we could go there and meet Father G and meet, understand the work he was doing there,
right.
Number one, and then be able to hire people and help you make a living
right.
by being part of this movie was just, such a treasure for me personally, because it led to a friendship between you and I that has lasted a very long time.
Yeah.
And I think really for you, what I was taken with the most was that you knew everyone's line. So you didn't just know your lines, you knew everyone's line in the scene, which I thought was just so beautiful that you decided to learn everyone's part because you were new at it and
right.
you just, and kind of some people, if they weren't saying something right, you knew that. And you kind of would stop because they didn't give
and
you
I helped them out.
and you're like, that's not the line. So, we were like, well, keep it going because we're in the middle of the take. But, so you were learning really on the fly.
Yeah.
But there was something that I think, was innate in you.
Mm-hmm.
You had an innate ability and you wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how you sat yourself next to me, but you kind of sat yourself next to me when I was at Video Village.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Remember you kind of just kind of sitting down and asking me questions about what was going on and what I was looking at. And, and if I recall correctly, you were like, well, how do you really become an actor?
Right.
Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
And I said, well, you probably should get into an acting class. And you're like, well, how do you do that? There was no template for you.
Yeah. I had no understanding. There was nobody to teach me.
This is how you become a firefighter, or this is how you become your mentorship and what you had been through was
different.
The street. And it was a very different, mentorship.
Yeah.
And didn't always lead, I think, to the best places for you.
Right.
And so in getting to see you work so hard and see you be really committed, and I think we had to do a reshoot.
Yeah.
And I remember that the wardrobe person called you and said, we need you to bring the clothes that you wore. And then she came up to me and she said, he called me back and he said, I was wearing a cross, but you didn't tell me to bring the cross. Should I bring the cross as well? So you were already thinking ahead.
Right.
You were already trying to, figure out how, this could work for you. And it meant commitment.
Yeah. And you truly understanding what this was.
Like, how do you do this?
Right.
And so without really knowing you, really, I said I would help you find an acting class.
Right. Yeah. And you did.
And I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And,
Do you remember that
I
experience?
remember that, right? Because I had, but see, I think I had found already an acting class, an acting school, Aaron Spicer.
Yes.
But you had taken me, but
to another
I
one.
hadn't, I had just.
You didn't commit
Exactly,
to that one.
exactly. So you find one, right?
Yes.
And so this is Jami Gertz hunting for an acting coach in Hollywood.
Yes.
So where you're gonna take me?
Yes,
It's
was
getting-
a little more. I remember people. It was the strangest thing because there were
really
people
was.
up there who were talking about like the auditioning process.
And they were all childhood actors.
They were childhood actors, and they're like, they were literally saying things like, "Well, I went into the audition and the director didn't even pay attention to me. Like the producer, like who was I supposed to even look at? And what was I?" And I'm looking at Richard, and he's looking at me, and I knew that you had tried to maybe hide
My
some of your
tattoos, I
tattoos.
always have like a collar shirt.
And it was so hot out, and you were like in a turtleneck, and I'm like, oh my god, what is going on here? He must think this is the most ridiculous thing.
She misses one of. I don't know if it was that one or I think it was that one. I sat on one side of you.
The second one we went to.
The second.
The second one we went to.
So we go. I was like, I don't know.
You can tell about that one because that one was quite a surprise for me.
So we went to the first one,
which was not for you. We walked out, and you're like, "This is not for me." I'm like, "I get it, not for you."
So I got another one though. You got me another one, Jami, right?
I found another one.
Okay.
And I did say to the acting coach, I said, he's, this is a guy that looks, because you'd have to do scene work with people. And, I wanted people to feel comfortable around you and you to feel comfortable around them. So I had to do a little like kind of
massage.
Well, just a little talking before I brought you. And so then the second time we came, you sat on one side of me.
On one side.
And why did you sit on one side of me?
Because I had a black eye on the other side. I had a shiner
on his eye. And I'm just like in my mind, I'm like, Gertz, you are such a loser. Like, you don't even know this guy. Like, what are you doing? Why are you helping him? Like, what the hell are you doing? And I looked at you and I said, and you kind of said, you probably, I said, well, yeah, I do notice it. And he said, well, I got jumped at a party. Okay, and I'm just like,
it's my fault. I got
jumped at a party, and I'm just like, okay, well, I don't even really know what that means. I'm just gonna say that I actually even know what that means. But I did say to you, if we were shooting A Better Life
that's right,
now,
you did,
and you came to set looking like this,
that's right, you did,
we would not be able to shoot today. You would have ruined our day of shooting.
Yeah.
And so, are you serious about this?
Yeah.
Or are you not serious about this? Because if you're serious about it and you want me to help out, you can't be go. I think I also may have said to you, I think you've gone to enough parties. I think you've gone to enough parties. And now it's time to get serious about your career. I believe that came out of my mouth. So that was kind of how we.
Yeah, and then we started, and I got it. I got it.
And helped you with getting
representation.
Yeah,
too. Yeah. I was
made some
Carlos
calls
Carreras, right?
To people, and that was an interesting call because at first he said no. I made a few calls and people said no because in Hollywood, it's either you have a job and you don't have an agent, and you have to work to get an. It's hard. Yeah. It's a hard thing, and I'm calling to say, I've just worked with this gentleman. I think he's great. He's learning. He's trying to turn his life around, and I'm hopeful for him, and I want to be helpful to him. And so Carlos originally said no, and then he did call me back because he grew up in East LA. And he said to me, I felt hypocritical. And I feel badly that I just right off the bat said no. So let me meet with him. Yeah. Thank God I was able to articulate what I wanted from people and then, try to find the right people at the right time for you to kind of be launched.
Yeah. That was your first film, right? A Better Life?
That was my first film producing.
And let me just I just want to just stop right there because you were acting for quite some time before that, and then you made this, right? And what people don't know, just because you're in the Hollywood business, from acting to producing, it's a whole
different thing. And when you're an actor, you're kind of the last piece of the puzzle, right? So you come in at the very end, everything's done. You didn't see the sausage being made. You just show up and you're going to wardrobe and you're talking to like your fellow actors and you're like, discussing with a director about where my character. And it's so beautiful. It's a beautiful process, but I had no idea of what came before that. I just never really paid attention to it because I didn't even, I had success as an actor and I just thought that that was my jam, and I didn't know that I was going to go behind the scenes. And I think I was seeing movies that were being made and things that were being made that, we kind of went into the comic book universe in movies. And I grew up on one-off movies of like, Dog Day Afternoon and The French Connection and Terms of Endearment and Urban Cowboy, these stories that were not going to have another one told about them. And movies stayed in the theater for a long time, so you'd see them over and over again. So either where I grew up, it was you're going to go bowling or go to a movie.
Right.
And so you'd see them over and over again. And so I would sit as young Jami and I watched these movies. I remember seeing Francis and I thought, oh God, if I could ever do that, and I was acting in school, in high school, in a big public school. And I was, dreaming that maybe that could be for me. But even like you, I had no one to say this is how you become an actor.
Chicago, right?
Chicago, yeah. The suburbs of Chicago.
Yeah.
And I was an ice skater first till like 5th grade. Loved my ice skating. And then my teacher, I had a teacher who said to me, she did the after school program and she said, you're going to try out for the school play because you talk a lot. I'm like, okay. I'll try out for the school play.
And you shared this story with me. That was your first.
That was my first, it was a teacher that looked at me and said, I think there's something about you that you could do this. And I think when people actually see someone and see that person truly, you can see something in them. And I think that Miss Sally Wing saw it in me. And I think, I saw something in you and I saw, and then you put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But yes, that's really what started me. And then Norman Lear's just passed. And his company, Embassy Television, was going across the country auditioning kids for a TV series. And I was 16 years old. And it was this open call.
Wow.
And I went to this open call. There must have been 500 kids there. Boys, girls, all different. Right. And I read in the morning, just like in and out. And
Did you have to go with your parents?
My parents were out of town. So I took the car with my friend Felice and we went on our own. And I just learned how to drive. So I was like on the, the expressway by myself. I did have my license. I remember we got McDonald's for lunch because they told me to come back in the afternoon. And I came back in the afternoon and my parents come back from Florida and the phone rings. Oh no, my parents weren't back. My parents were still in Florida, but I got a call saying they wanted to fly me out for network approval. And I'm saying words that I've never uttered before. Like I had no idea what network approval meant.
Right.
I had no idea that I was a minor, that a parent had to take me. They're like, you should have your parents call us. I'm like, oh, okay. And my parents are like, what are they talking about? I said, well, I went on this call and they want me to fly me out to Los Angeles. So the next week I was flying out to Los Angeles. And like 3 weeks later, I was shooting a pilot for CBS.
Wow.
And that was Embassy Pictures, which was Norman Lear's company.
Right.
And so I shot that part of my junior year of high school, all of my senior year of high school. So my trajectory, I didn't have the waiter, being a waiter, being a bartender, I was found in a search, thrown right in.
Yeah.
That was
it. And then you never looked back.
And I never looked back. So that's really, it's an unusual path. It wasn't like I looked at those movies and saw those actors and thought that would be fun.
Right. And you were already training as an actress.
Yes. I mean, I was doing school plays. I was doing, and I was also doing, which I think is so good for kids, speech and debate team. Speech and debate team is an amazing thing if you, first of all, to talk in front of people, if you're ever going to run a company, if you're ever going to be a waiter, if you're ever, speech and debate team for me was very creative. I did duet acting and we would perform a scene and we went downstate to perform the scene. So it's a competition and you have to be really on it, and auditioning's like that. So I kind of had that in me from speech and debate team.
Mm.
So that's really where I started my kind of, and then at 18 was out here.
That was it. Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Got the agent, just started working, just started moving and grooving, and started doing a lot of movies then.
Right. And so, A Better Life, but like that was that the last film that you produced?
It's the first and only movie. No, I've just produced a
You just
documentary.
a documentary. I just seen that, right? The Atlanta one, right?
Yes, but it's not out yet. We're still editing that. But yes, it was the first and last movie.
Well, yeah. What was that?
Why is that?
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to lose money. It was my own personal money that I put in. And I do now see why people shop ideas, bring them to people, and then it's a collaboration and studios pick them up. Or, when you do it yourself, I mean, you're on the hook for everything, and it's, your money that you're spending. So I had put a lot of my hard-earned money into making A Better Life, which I'm so proud of.
Right.
But then you have no control on how they release it.
Right.
Now with the internet, you can release your own material. You can put yourself out there in any way,
Right.
how you YouTube yourself. But back then you couldn't.
It's true.
I had to rely on other people. So I lost money, and I just kind of felt, I just felt like people just wanted me for the money. And it wasn't really, and then people were doing it really well. Like Reese Witherspoon got into it and was doing some really great work. And, women were starting to really have these companies that were very prolific companies. And I felt like, I'm doing this kind of on the side. Either you're in it or you're out.
Right.
So, and I was still working as an actor and trying to get a job as an actor. So I just, I don't know. I didn't have the heart for it, maybe. I don't know if I've always, wrestled with my ambition in my heart and what I really, what true artistry is and what I'm doing just to do it, to make money. And, I was always conflicted about that.
But you finally came back to producing, though.
I did come back to producing this year.
And where did that come about?
I don't know when it's coming out because I have to sell it.
Where did it come from?
Where did it come from? So, this is all over the place. But so it's a docuseries about Magic City, and Magic City is a family-owned business for 4 decades. It's a strip club, a black strip club in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's run by the same family for 4 decades. And the very first people, when our family purchased the Atlanta Hawks team, to befriend us were Juju and Little Magic. They came to games. They just were so gracious. There's a very Southern grace that I didn't know about coming from the Midwest and coming from Los Angeles. But Juju and Little Madge kind of reached out to our family and said, welcome to Atlanta. We're happy to know you. Need anything, you let us know.
Right.
And so they became friends. And then a friend of my son, Nicholas, who went to college with my son, Nick, is a writer. And he, a very successful writer. And he wrote a book called Gray Boy after college that did well. And so he was doing a lot of ghostwriting on memoirs, and he was ghostwriting on Jermaine Dupri's memoir. And in that book was a chapter on Magic City. And fast forward, Nicholas, my son Nick, had moved to Atlanta and was working for the Atlanta Hawks. And so Cole called him and said, I'm working on this book. The most amazing chapters about this place called Magic City. Have you ever heard of it? And Nick's like, heard of it? We're friends with the family. I've been. It's an amazing place. So we went down the road of seeing if the Barney family wanted to make this movie about their family and their life and the heart and the hustle of Atlanta. I think many good things have emanated from Magic City, but I think one of the most successful is the Southern hip hop and rap. So while the East Coast and the West Coast were beefing, you may have been part of those beefs. I don't know, my friend. You may have been part of the West Coast beefing when it was going down.
West, y'all.
West, beefing. The South got something to say. So, Outcasts. The South Outcasts came and rose up and had something to say. And really, in this club, we have Big Boy talking about how when Outkast would make something, they brought Bombs of Baghdad to Magic City. Because if the DJs were so amazing in Magic City. If the DJ played it, and then the dancer danced to it. And the dancer, if she didn't like it, she'd be from stage like,
turn that shit, go, keep it going.
I ain't dancing to that. And so really, the DJ would hand back, your mixtape and say, you got to come back, son. You're not ready yet.
They said,
you are not ready yet for Magic City. No. So there's all those stories of all this music that emanated from this tiny club that Mr. Barney bought 40 years ago. It sits in the same place by the Greyhound bus station. And so, so that's the second story I've chosen to tell, which is so interesting. Two different stories about, different people that have nothing to do with me, which is what I think I love about filmmaking and what I love about TV and what I love about storytelling is that I believe it is the space where people learn more so than your school, more so than your home. I think that there's a responsibility in storytelling to get it right, to tell it correctly. And that's where I think I learned so much about other cultures, other people, other lives. And I know that you've gone forth telling, well, we could get into your one-man show, which is also I was a part of. But
what was the biggest difference?
There's so many things I was a part of.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, the one-man show.
You exhaust me, Richard. Part of it all, man.
What do you think is the biggest difference from when you started in acting to like now? And of course, that's a bit, but like just
it's a big difference. But so my life has changed a lot, right?
Right. Yeah.
So when you look at your life, when you look back at your life, and you start to reflect upon a lot of things that have happened to you, when I was 16, I made more money than my dad. That changes.
Yeah, that changes the dynamic.
That changes the dynamic. That changes a lot of things in your life. I mean, I didn't go to college. I didn't make those friendships. I was a young girl working in an adult world, trying to navigate that. Even as an 18-year-old, I mean, I was on set. I was trying to, be an adult. And I wasn't quite an adult yet at 18, but I was really trying hard. I was making adult money. I was expected to show up. I was expected to be on time. I was expected to know my lines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this
so your childhood is kind of like at 16, right? That's it. Your childhood, it's gone.
That's gone. And now I'm in an adult world that I don't really know how to navigate, but I have come from a solid foundation. I have come from parents that raised me well with a lot of love. So, and taught me that if someone's paying you, you get your ass there and you show up and you're on time and you know your stuff. So I did have that. So that to me was, because it was the 80s, it was even before AIDS started happening. So, people were just getting sick and you didn't know why people were getting sick. There were many people doing a lot of drugs. A lot of drugs. And I was not a person that did that. And so I was now working where someone was nodding off and I'm like, oh, look, they're napping. And I was just like, oh, no. Now the ambulance is being called because they're doing heroin and they've just nodded off and they burned my head with a curling iron because, I was in their makeup chair. So there were a lot of things that I had to kind of navigate quickly, but also keep my sense of self. I always had my sense of self.
Yeah, and because I think it's the key, the family, right? That solid
my parents,
foundation.
100%.
And I think that's a big thing. I mean, you see them, you come in here and it swallows them up. And I think that's having a solid foundation, Jami.
I think a lot of people come with first of all, wanting to be famous. What does that mean? I don't know what's the reason. Do you want to be famous, right? Is it because there's a lot of probably reasons we could go for it, right?
Yeah.
I didn't really think about fame, actually. I thought about just being really good.
Good.
just being really good.
Yeah.
That if I was going to be there, I was going to be the best that I could be. And so that meant, getting my rest, doing all those things. So, I mean, I remember even when I must have been 18 or 19, we were doing Less Than Zero. And Less Than Zero is a show about, Beverly Hills kids that are indulged, that are doing drugs, sex, rock and roll, the whole thing. I happen to have been doing a show, Comeback Little Sheba, with Tyne Daly at the LATC downtown. And they wanted to go out and party because in the movie, we all party.
You wanted to feel it. They
wanted
to
feel it.
Yeah.
So after my performance, they were going to come pick me up in a limousine. We were going to go out to feel it. And it's me, and I'm getting in the limousine. First of all, I'm exhausted. I've just done
a show.
Performance.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to suck it up. We're going out, and they're doing a lot of drugs, and they want me to participate. And I'm just like, and
you're just trying to go
And when
along.
you're trying to be like nice about not snorting something or putting something, you're just kind of like, no, I'm good, thank you. No, I'm okay, thank you. Trying to be sweet about it, but so very uncomfortable. And I remember that they did call my agent and say to my agent, we wonder about her commitment to this film because, I wasn't participatory. And my agent's like, I mean, she has a signed contract. Don't worry, Jamie's going to come up with the goods. And, but they were questioning me because I was not participating in what that was happening. So that could not happen now.
But that was like some normal that was just normal.
That was just normal.
Right.
That you have to navigate. That would not happen now.
That would not happen now.
So I think that, my trajectory from, going from square pegs to having this movie television career in Hollywood for 30 some odd years.
Yes.
To also being a mom of 3 sons. It was interesting at the very beginning when I look at a lot of my compatriots, the people that I auditioned with that I would, they waited a long time to have their families. Never once did I think, oh, I won't be creative or I can't be an actor and not have my children and not find the love of my life. I was like, no, I'm going to do that all.
Yeah, I'm going to do it all.
I'm going to do it all. I may not do it well.
But we're going to do this.
But I'm going to do it, right?
Yeah.
So for me to have children, to make sure that they are quality human beings that I'm leaving on this planet, took a lot of navigating my career and my children and my husband. So those were things that were non-negotiable for me. I was not going to because I remember now, if you're like an actor having a baby, you shoot your baby shower, you have a baby formula line, you do, back then my agent's like, don't be photographed pregnant. I'm like, what? She's like, I don't want people to know you're pregnant. I'm like, oh, okay. Like they just they did not care at all about trying to, be politically correct or make me feel good as a woman.
None
of it. Did not matter. But I think it made me kind of, I don't know, solid and strong.
Yeah.
And actually very feminist in a way. Because I was like, well, screw you. I'm doing it anyway. I'm doing this anyway. I could care less what you think about me. I'm just going to have these kids and have this life and do this work as well. So I think that's, between acting and producing and having a life that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of help, and a lot of, partnership between Tony and I, between my husband and I.
And you've been married how long?
We've been married 35 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And we've known each other 37 years.
Yeah.
So he used to come to set. This was the best. Before cell phones.
Hey, I remember the first, when you brought me to A Better Life to the premiere.
Yes.
And then you remember like, Tony hates these.
Hates.
And I felt the same. I was like,
I know.
Like,
what am I doing here?
and
little Bella was there. Your kids were there. And everyone's like.
No. But Chris White was just off of Twilight. Remember?
Yes.
And you're like, I don't care about that. Come on, let's go.
I'm like, don't talk about Twilight. I'm talking about Better Life. I'm a producer here. Screw Twilight. I was the original vampire, by the way.
Woo woo, Lost Boys.
Lost Boys. We're
Lost
going to go
Boys.
down
Let's
the
just get
original
it correct.
vampire
Let's just-
road.
Hey,
Me.
there would be no Twilight if there wasn't no Lost Boys.
Right. So, what were we even talking? Hello. But yeah, I mean,
Hey, you're the best, Jamie. We're gonna get into the NBA, right? But I remember one of my first jobs, right? When it's actually the reason why this podcast team comes from John Bernthal's, right? And
Yes.
that was the movie that I went to Louisiana on my first, and you were like,
on
look,
location.
Rich,
Oh my God.
this is when I met John, right? On this movie. I'm about
so
to go. I'm so
anxious.
happy. I'm so and
You're
like
like, I'm
Tyler
so
and like she has this blank. I was like, why the f are you not happy for me, Jamie? The fucking I'm gonna be with The Rock and John Burt, like, right? And
Well, I just know what location is about.
Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm going to
Shreveport, Louisiana. I know what location's about. I know what happens on location. I know that you are still actively were you
You
still
told me to
on
stay away
parole?
from the grip, though.
Yeah, grip department.
You
The grip,
Stay away. She told me to stay away.
I'm like, don't stay away from the grips. They party way too much. I said, you are not there to party. You are not there to go to the bar after work. You are there you're going to get money per diem.
Yeah, you did.
You better
You said
save
my
that.
per diem.
You better
told me save my
save
per diem. Don't waste your per diem.
And I would say, take both meals home. Like, they're going to feed you. Did I not? I said, take both meals home because they're going to give you food later on. You don't have to pay for the food because you need to save that money. So I was tough on you.
Yeah.
I wanted you to have me in your head. If you thought you were going to go a direction you shouldn't go in, there would be Jamie with her Diet Coke saying, don't do that, Richard.
Hey, we'll say, hey, Jamie knows Sundance, right? Remember I told you go out to Pine Ridge and all that, right? So the first time I go to Sundance, I come back, she was like, well, how was it? And she was like, she knows that I didn't eat for 4 days and the whole thing. And I was like, you know what, Jamie? I thought about you and your Diet Coke when I was out there.
I'm like, that's what you thought about?
I swear to God, I don't know. I was like, I'm dehydrated, I haven't drank for a while. I'm like, she's
and then you just, how's the sweat lodge going?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, all right, Jamie.
Yes.
NBA. You were fans. How long did you go? You invited me to the Lakers. You guys had Lakers season. You had tickets for how long for Lakers?
Well, we started out where we could go to one game per season, and it was like during the Magic Johnson.
Wow.
It was like
Jamie.
And I have to say what I love about basketball. So my eldest son's name is Oliver Jordan. Mm-hmm. But when I was in labor, it was 1992. The Knicks were playing the Bulls. I was a Bulls fan. My husband was a Knicks fan. And depending on who won, it would either be Oliver Patrick for Patrick Ewing if the Knicks won, or Oliver Jordan for Michael Jordan if the Bulls won. The Bulls won. So his name is Oliver Jordan. So to say that we were basketball fans is an understatement.
Yes.
It was kind of like just that. It's a great sport. It's fun to watch on TV. It's fun to go to.
It's a part of your family now,
part
right?
of our family. But and then I had 3 sons.
Yeah.
So, and Tony has played in a game for 35 years every Sunday. Tomorrow, no exception. He plays in this game. And so basketball's been a huge part of his life. Mm-hmm. So when we could go, we would go to Laker games. When we started to have kids, we thought, well, we've made a little more money. We could maybe split season tickets with people. So we started doing that and getting involved. And then we could afford our own season tickets.
Yeah.
And we just started to go to Laker games.
Yeah.
And we loved it.
Yeah.
Basketball, we were there for, so many, Kobe and everyone. And it was just a big part of our lives. And I think our lives changed. I mean, Tony's business exploded. He has this amazing business that he started called Aries Management, and he just started to become very successful because he works really hard. And there was just some point where our boys just loved sports so much. We loved basketball, and we thought, well, could this ever be a dream that would come true? Not my dream.
Right, it was Tony's. I remember when it happened. I remember when this happened, and Tony was like, "You're like."
So Tony said, so it's a very interesting thing too. So these are assets that do not come up often. Usually they're owned by families, football teams, baseball teams. They stay in families for generations. So the Clippers had an issue here with, an issue is an understatement. I'm just going to say that, with racism. And they had to sell the team. And we bid on the Clippers, but Steve Ballmer came and paid so much money that it just was, we're like, oh, okay, well, that was interesting. And then we had heard from Grant Hill, who was part of the people that we were, and Grant's an ex-player and, huge NBA guy. He and Tony became friends, and he said, I'm hearing that the Atlanta Hawks have had some issues and they're going to come up for sale. And Tony's like, Atlanta. And, we were now in LA, and my kid was still in high school. And I was like, I'd never even been to Atlanta.
Wow.
But what you realize is that they go in an auction. So there's competing bids. So people kind of gather their teams around them, of who's going to put in what money, what can you do? And the NBA vets who's real, who's not real. And it goes very quickly. And it's not like you can go kick the tires. We couldn't fly down there and go look at this stadium.
You just got to get in.
You just have to get in and buy it.
Wow.
And so.
Wow.
and it went from in the 4 days that the auction happened, the price changed. And I was just like, wait a minute, what is going on here? Why are we doing this? And Tony's like, we had closed, and and actually my sister-in-law, who is a lawyer and was our lawyer, and she said to me, Jami, you could say no. This is, LA is common, you could say no. And I'm like, I could say no? She's like, yeah, you could say no. And I'm like, oh. I said, but he's so excited, and it's going to be fun. He's so excited, and my boys. So I didn't say no.
I didn't say no.
And then Tony looked at me and goes, babe, our dreams came true. Like, just like that. And I looked at him and I said, my love, when I close my eyes, I do not dream of the Atlanta Hawks. They don't pop into my head. I said, like, maybe an Oscar or an Emmy someday, but not.
Okay, so he didn't give a fuck. He was
just like, babe,
it's happening.
Came true. Like, oh my God. So that's really how this went down.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It is, So, and then you're off and running.
And
here
we
are,
off and running.
Atlanta, baby.
And here I now live in Atlanta.
And how long has it been now?
So we're in our 9th season. Can you believe that? We're in our 9th season. And it was such an interesting thing as well, because you inherit everything.
Right.
Like, so the stadium is yours. The team is yours. Everyone that sells a ticket or a T-shirt or everything. And so
you're just
here you go. And you're like,
you're a hawk. You're just a hawk now.
You're a hawk. And I'm just like, oh, hi. What do you do? And what do you do? Like, I had no idea what people did.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know what
I remember when I went to the state, it's like a whole world in there.
It's a whole world.
Right? The stadium is
a massive business.
Going under, and like, it's just like,
You do concerts.
And you're like, I am now I'm going to oversee this whole operation.
And it's in disrepair. Like, it is not, it's really old.
Yeah.
The food, like, I remember I said to Tony, okay, let's just see. And I would go to different places and order different food, and I'd come down and I'd be like, taste this. Taste this. This is like giving people dog food. This is like dog food.
This is the show, Jami. Why the
I'm like, you taste this. And Tony would be like, Jami, I'm like, taste it. And then I would go to different bathrooms around the stadium. And there would be no toilet paper. And I would be like, okay. And I'd walk outside the bathroom and I would try to find someone. And I would be looking a long time, and I'd finally find someone that looked like they worked there. And I'd say, oh, I just came from the bathroom, because people didn't really know yet.
You were, right?
I said, I just came from the bathroom. There's no toilet paper. And they'd be like, yeah. I said, well, you need some toilet paper in there. And they'd be like, not my job. And I was like, well, can you point me in the direction of the person whose job it is to refill the toilet paper in the bathroom? So it was really like that.
Jamie.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we really took 2 years.
Yeah.
We did a 2-year renovation of the building. We did an entire. We hired the most amazing chef. He's just left us, Chef Joe, to revamp the food and beverage. And I think being an actor and being on set and being part of a collaboration of giving product and knowing that there's fans that are going to buy tickets to go to your movie, or there's going to be people that go see your play,
there's other people on the other side,
see your show.
I
had that in my head, and I'm like, I have to give them a good product when they walk into State Farm Arena.
They got to come to a good show, right?
I know that when people come see theater, they've saved up a lot of money to buy that ticket. I know that there are a lot of families that they're going to pick one game a year. They're going to save up. I want the food to be spectacular. I want from the moment they walk in that someone says, hello, how can we help you? Welcome to State Farm Arena. Let's go Hawks. So how, from the minute they hit the parking lot, they feel the love. That we are taking care of them, that we are surrounding them, that we are giving them the best fan experience that we can give them. And that's really kind of where Tony and I, you know, because we had never worked together before, which is also a very tricky, what are our lanes? And how do you pick your lane?
You have to find it.
Find your lane. What are you good at? What do you, you know? And so I do a lot of, you know, the entertainment. When you come to my house, or you come, I want you to feel warm from the moment you walk into my house. I want you to feel loved. I want
and
the
be
food
inspired
to be
by
good.
art when you come.
Be inspired by art.
You have some crazy.
I have crazy art.
You do.
I do. Did you think that was my brain when you saw my art collection? Are you kind of like, wow, Jamie's up?
That's why we get each other.
Are you like, wow, I would not think.
But you know what? The one that always got to me was the one. I don't know what the you did on that wall. It was like.
Yes. So this
that was amazing.
Yeah. She's from Germany, and she came.
And then he said that Tony didn't know, and he came in.
He came in,
and there was like.
Actually, Theo saw it. My youngest saw it first, and he had come home from college, and he saw it, and he goes, "Oh, Dad, I don't know what happened to Mom, but I don't know what she did, but it's an entryway. I mean, you walk into this, and this is an artist that's kind of, you know, she just draws with ink all over your wall, like when your kids would draw on your wall, and you'd be like, oh my God, the kids drew on the wall, but this is a huge walls all over that she spent 3 weeks drawing on. And Tony was just like, whoa, what did you do? I'm like, isn't it great? Don't you love it? Don't you love it? So I mean, it's been a real treat for me. And to kind of collect this art.
And also, I mean, a lot of people don't know, you also paint, though.
I do paint.
Right.
I've started to, you know, that's the other thing about life. And I think when you're younger, you kind of are on your path, and, you know, you have to do things to live. You got to make money. You got to pay rent. You got to, you know, and whatever job you get, I mean, your generation thinks a little bit more about different jobs. But like when I was growing up, you basically had one job, probably your whole life. You know, you didn't really veer too much from the beaten path. And so, you know, I always thought, do I have other muscles as an artist? You know, like you can write. You're a writer as well as as an actor. And I was just like, you know, is there something else that I could be creative at, that I could, you know, not so much for the masses, but for me.
For you.
And so this is a pretty funny story, but I found there's this place in Colorado called the Anderson Ranch. It's beautiful.
And you go there every year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'd heard about it, but I'd never gone there. And I thought, well, I used to see the sign when we would go vacation. I was like, I'm just going to turn in. And I turned into this place, and it was extraordinary. I mean, people were woodworking and pottery, and people were outside taking photographs, and there's log cabins, and just people all over creating. And I'm just looking, and I went in, there was a little store. I said, oh, can I look around? They said, sure, look around. I said, can anyone study here? And they said, well, you have to sign up, and this is our summer session, but yes, there's some classes that you have to be, put your portfolio in, and you have to really be, commissioned, but there are some that are open to all. And so I was like, okay. And she said, maybe you could go online and put yourself on a wait list. So I put myself on a wait list for beginner open to all classes. And watercolors in nature came a calling. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do watercolors in nature. So there's a little drugstore in town, and I go get, the plastic watercolor.
Yeah, the kid
like
ones.
the little kid ones. Right. And a pad of paper.
Yeah.
I'm going to do watercolors in nature. I walk in, and people have suitcases that they have brought, rolling backpacks. They are putting stuff up. They are putting things around, and I'm just looking, and I'm like, I said to the teacher, I said, this is open to all, right? And she said, yes. I said, oh, okay. And I'm sitting with literally a pad, a little plastic pad, and like plastic, and everyone's taking out. And there's some kids in the class, some younger people.
They got little suitcases too?
They've got cases because they're from a performing arts high school in Chicago. I learned this during the week. They came on scholarship for this week. And so the teacher goes around and says, I'd love to know, let's introduce yourself and let us know where you are in your practice. I'm like, this does not sound open to all, but okay, I'm going to go down this road. They get to me. I said, well, I'm from the performing arts, not from the fine arts. This is my very first class that I've ever taken. And she kind of looked at me. She goes, really? I said, yes, but I'm here to learn. And by the end of the week, I have to say it was an extraordinary experience. The people that said, Jami, you should use this brush for this. And this is how because watercolors run so quickly. And, And after every day, you go around and you look at everyone's artwork and you critique. And I'm used to it as an actor. Between takes, a director comes and critiques you, or says, thank you for that. I'd like you to try this. But so I'm used to it. But a lot of people were like, I was doing this and I did it, and and nervous about it. And she came to mine, she looked at mine, and she goes, I love your sand dunes. And I said, thank you. They are mountains. But now I know how to do sand dunes. I'm good. I'm gold. I got this. So I'm still a work in progress in my fine arts, but I love it. It feels so good. It feels so good. And I have to say, you're always being so creative. You're always doing something that is creative, and your creative juices. I don't know where did that first emanate? I mean, I know you wrote while you were in prison.
Yeah.
I think that was probably really where you wrote first and foremost.
Yeah, and I think it's also like that release though, right? Like it's just, you touched on it a little bit. Like my life was kind of challenging and whatever. And it's just dealing with that, right? Like you cannot.
Does your audience here know about your life?
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think they no.
Yeah. I remember one lunch. Well, he took me back to prison.
Oh, we went to prison. That's
we
right.
Went to
Lancaster
prison together.
Prison.
That was
that
was old home week. Take your mom home.
Take your mom
to your old home. And I was just like, oh my God, that was an amazing experience for me. Do you remember that experience?
Yeah, I mean,
should we talk about that?
Yeah. I mean,
well, how that day started out for me was very interesting.
Because I remember Tony was going surfing.
Tony was going surfing. I had to leave early to get there to meet you because we had to go in together.
Right.
And I was wearing blue jeans.
Oh, that's right.
Do you remember?
That's
right. You called me in the car and you said, are you wearing blue jeans? And I said, yeah. I didn't think I had to get dressed up. He's like, can't wear blue jeans. I said, why? He goes, well, in case it goes down, they have to be able to identify you and take you out. And I'm like, okay. He's like, so you have to change. So I drove back home. I go in and Tony's like, what are you doing? I said, I can't wear blue jeans. He's like, you can't? I said, no, I can't wear blue jeans. And I put on like all black. Now I'm Johnny Cash going to prison. He wore all black. I'm going like Johnny Cash. And I met you. We met outside. I think we had to leave everything in the car. and you have to really go through and no one's happy to see you there. It's not like you walk in and people are like,
right.
hey, come on in. I didn't know what to expect, but it's a very somber, sobering experience to even be someone who goes and visits prison for me.
Right.
I had been before. I had done a television movie about a parole officer in Houston, Texas. And she had put into the public school systems a program called No More Victims. And I did her life story. Her name was Marilyn Gambrell. And so she would take kids, because a lot of times, and I didn't know this, your parents are taken away and you don't even know what prison they've gone to. And so kids are left not even knowing. And a lot of times parents don't write to their children from prison. They're too embarrassed or whatever. And so her program was like trying to get their parents to write to them and trying to get them to articulate what they need from their parents through kind of role playing with prisoners in prison. So we did that together. But going with you, because you had
I was there. I was in that prison. That was a crazy part.
Should, and it literally were. At one point, you come over to me. There were a lot of people with us. Scott Budnick was with us.
Yeah, Scott Budnick. That's right.
And you came over and you pointed. You tapped me on the shoulder. You go, Jamie, that's like that's where I stayed. And you were showing it to me, and like there was just, I was just so broken for you. Like it was like, I was not going to cry here, so I'm not going to cry here. That was hard for me because I just felt like, wow, like that's what you were pointing out to me. Like it was hard for me to hear you point that out. I'm so happy that I get to see you point out so many beautiful things in your life now.
Not that,
Not that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm happy about.
Yeah.
No. But that was a rough day for me. But it was an interesting day. We brought it around.
Right.
Do you remember when we were talking? Because apparently, I didn't know this as well. A lot of things I'm not on top of. A lot to learn. That if you give up your gang affiliation in prison,
that's right.
It's very dangerous for you.
That's right.
And then you get moved to another
That's right.
block.
Yeah, the sensitive
of people who gave up their affiliation.
Right.
And we went to talk to them.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And they couldn't believe that we were friends.
We were there.
That we were there and that we were
friends. They were like, how do you know each other?
They're like, how do you know each other?
That's right.
How are you two friends? And I thought, wow, it's important that people become friends.
Yeah.
With people that you never think, but real friends.
Yeah.
Not, like friends where you actually care about someone, you actually, help each other. You actually, if you need them, they're there.
Yeah.
And I think that they were just so stunned.
Yeah.
That we were friends.
And why? And then I guess, why, Jamie? Like, why? I guess it's, why after all these years, like, you were, like, you helped me out like that? Like,
I think, I always wonder why, what was it in me that you, like, thought I would? Like, when you sat down next to me, like, what were you thinking? Who the is she? Like, what were you thinking?
I already
like,
knew
what did you think about? You knew who I was.
I mean,
saw some of my shows in prison. I do get written. A lot of prisoners have written to me in my lifetime, which is stunning, I must say, that they're fans of mine. So,
but I think it's always that, right? Like, if someone's willing to give you the opportunity, or believe in you, then how the can I not believe in myself?
Right.
And I guess it's that, like you represent something that I didn't have. And what is that? A positive woman role model, like just that, like that's what it is. Yeah. Jamie, you know where the I come from, right? And I didn't have that, right? And
and I didn't want anything from you.
Yeah, that's the strange part too. That's the strange thing. That's
because for me, for my children, my own children, I want to just do for them. I want them to be successful. I want them to go forth. Right. I want them to succeed.
Right.
And I think for me, I think in your life, and sometimes I see this in the NBA too, a lot of people want things from you.
Right.
When you have come from a tough place and a tough time and people are like, you owe me. What are you going to do for me? I did this for you. I held this for you one time, or I did it, and I do see that in the NBA sometimes. And I think, wow, we're supposed to help you
Uplift.
and then uplift you and let you go and let you do it and not keep pulling you back and not keep saying, well, what are you going to do for me?
Right.
Like if we're always just going, what are you going to do for me?
Right.
What kind of life is that? That is not. And so I think that you saw maybe I'm just putting words in. What I hope you saw is that someone who just, I don't know, wanted to help.
Yeah.
Just cause.
And for me also, though, Jamie, it's like this helping of me, and it's like hearing these stories after these 9 seasons. It's kind of like that with the guys on the team, though.
I do, yes. I mean,
right? Because a lot of these guys, and I didn't know nothing, but when you share, like, I was like, oh, these guys are kind of like me, and like come from the same communities. Right? Whether it's black, brown, a broken community is a broken community, Jamie.
No
right?
matter
A broken
what.
family is a broken family. And can you share a little bit about that?
Yes. I mean, I think there is a lot of young men and women in the WNBA that do come from, a way out is through sports. And if you become really good at a sport, you can then, rise above where you came from, and there's hope. I mean, the tough thing for me is that only 400 people make it a year. Do you know what I mean? There's only
400 period. Yeah.
And there's a lot of millions of poor people that are like trying, and I'm like, that's why I don't think it's the best way to get out of situations. Education for me is the best way to get out. America should be the beacon of the greatest educational system known to man.
Right.
Because if it's the law of the land that you have to go to school till you're 18 and we have you for 8 hours a day, it should be exceptional. That's the truth. It's not. We have to work on it, but it should be. And sports in a lot of areas is a way out.
Right.
And so when you think about it, all you're doing is trying to get out. So all you're really working on is the sports part of your life, right? And if you're not working on the artistic part.
Right.
You're not working on the.
But it kind of reminds me of like, I'm just working on the acting. But if I'm not working on the that happened, then what good is this acting?
So you're not working with
the traumas.
I have not had a lot of trauma, but I've learned about trauma. And what I've learned also in knowing you and other people in my life, and a lot of people in the NBA and around, is, when chaos is your norm, that's normal. That feels normal. So you seek it out because that feels comfortable. Even though, and we've talked about this, like when I say, or you say that's normal, like what is normal to you? What's normal to you is not what's normal to me.
Correct.
But there is like a line of like basic human, how you should be taken care of, how a parent should take care of you. It's really important that we as parents should know how to take care of our children. And if you don't deal with the trauma, as you say, then you don't learn how to take better care because you weren't taken care of and you haven't dealt with it. So then you don't go forth knowing how to take care of someone else. I mean, would you?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And but working with with men that are getting this amount of money sometimes, right?
It's tough. I mean, I think that,
and like where I mean, because let me just, like, a new player coming into the NBA, right? And so I think it would be kind of like your job to help, not job, like help guide, these while they're with you, to be able to give the best performance on the floor. And right? So,
yes, I think that we definitely, as the Atlanta Hawks, we have someone full-time who, a psychologist, full-time, travels with us.
Wow.
Full-time for our players. Now, I can't make you.
You can't make them go?
I can't make you go.
Yeah.
I know when I think you should. Do you know what I mean? I know when I think, things are going wrong. And I do a lot with the families. So your girlfriends, your mom, your grandma, your uncle, your dad, we do a lot at the Hawks. We have the Lady Hawks. We run a family room for every home game. So I know their families.
Yeah.
And I know what everyone's coming from.
Right.
And everyone has something.
Yeah.
Everyone has something. And how do we come into this space, respect each other, root for our team together, but also deal with whatever trauma is going on
Right.
at your time. At this time, people get sick, someone loses a parent, some parent gets out of jail and just shows up at State Farm saying,
Hey, son.
"Hey, son." Where we have to go say, someone's saying they're your dad. Is that your dad?
Wow.
I mean, that's happened. And I think that, how do you, because it is a business too.
Right.
Like, you've signed a contract. This is, it's a hell of a contract. This is a hell of a thing. Not many people get to do this. But sometimes if you've done it your whole life just to get out, and then you get there, it's not everything you expected it to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
like, now what?
Now what? Like, I made it. I did it.
Now
I'm
what?
out.
Right.
Yeah. Now what? Do I even love this? Is this something I even love to do?
Or this
or
was the
it
only
just
hope to get out.
It was my only hope to get out. Do I love it? And I think that there's people that, sit around and go, I don't know if I love this. And then you see the players that are like, it pours out of them. They couldn't think of doing anything else. It's joy. It's pure joy. Win, loss. It's joy.
It's just the game.
And I can feel the difference in players.
Wow.
I can definitely now see the difference in players. And you want the ones, that it's pure joy.
They love.
And that never give up. Because, as an actor and auditioning and being told no way more than you're told yes, my mantra is you never give up. You can't fail if you never give up.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I'm not settling for mediocrity. I want to win. I want to win a championship. Tony's promised me a championship. It's hard. It's hard to win.
9 seasons in, is Atlanta your home? Or
Atlanta is my home now.
Beautiful.
Which is wonderful, and it's an amazing place. It's a very creative place. It's like, what do they call it? Hollywood of the South. A lot of things shoot there. There's a lot of creative people, and it's just, it's kind of where. What I love about it is the home of Martin Luther King, and it's the home of Magic City. And both of them equally are like beloved. Do you know what I mean? Like, both hold weight and are beloved. And I think that's an amazing thing about a city. It holds space for both. It's pretty cool.
Entertainment. Are you gonna come? Are you coming back? Are you thinking about coming back? Well, I mean, yeah, that's what everybody wants to know. You got a lot of fans, Jami. What the Jami? Is she right?
It would have to be something that I just really felt that I could, stick my teeth into, really care about, just a story that really I feel like telling. I love being funny. I mean, a lot of my
was it The Neighbor? Was the
Neighbors?
It was The Neighbors. That was
Still Standing. I mean, I did a lot of television, and it's an interesting thing because you're in people's homes.
Yeah.
Don't you find when you do TV,
and I mean, the
Mayans, people think they know your character. They know you, right?
Yeah, I'd be like, my name's not Coco. It's Richard Cabral. Nice to meet you.
People
they
get
think you have fangs.
confused.
Do you have fangs?
Right. People really think because you're in their home.
Yeah. And I remember my first American Crime. Right. I'm going to the studio to get the approval or the
network approval.
The network approval, right?
There you go.
But how crazy was this, right? I'm going up to and that building on right across the street from Disney, right?
Yes.
That's the
That's the
headquarters.
one.
If you feel it,
if you
right?
made it there,
you feel it, and they're like, all right, 4th floor. John Ridley's up there waiting for me, and shit, right? I'm like, fuck. And then I'm waiting in the room, and then they have the TV playing, and you come on.
Really? Because I was doing The Neighbors.
And that was America. That was my pilot, right?
Yeah.
No, remember we went to Lo Maximo.
Do you remember what Father G said to me? Oh my God. So we're at Lo Maximo. Father Greg, and he does not mince words. And he looks at me and goes, acting, Jami? Really? Acting? I'm like, he's really good. Like, he's really good. He's like, I mean, but he needs to make a living. He has children. I said, no, I know, but he's really good. But I'm like, literally, Father G's on my ass. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Hey, remember we're waiting to see if we got a second season.
Oh, and I got canceled and you got picked up. Do you remember that? Yeah. But I was so happy.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but we got, and even she gave us a blessing, right?
I know. He gave us, it was the same day
It was
as
the
Lo
same day,
Maximo.
Lo Maximo.
And you heard that your show got picked up and mine got canceled.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, if there's anyone that, I'm happy got picked up, it is Richard. Got picked up. I mean, then you'd be like, I think I'm going to do a movie with Brad Pitt. And I'd be like, man, I think we taught him too well. What? Obi-Wan Kenobi. I like him like Star Wars. Go, my son. Go forth. I'm so proud.
I love you, Jamie.
I love you. So proud.
Yeah, I remember when when you brought me to the stadium, people were like,
Yeah.
what the right?
What the hell are these two people doing together?
Yeah. And you had, and she was just like, she didn't give a She was like, did you see me? I was slumped in my chair, Rich.
Yeah.
Did you see me?
Yeah.
I was slumped in my chair. I didn't care.
People are just like looking. I'm
She-
like, what? It's just so interesting to me, people's reactions and people who say things. And you're just like, I think people have to be more open.
Mm.
I think that is, a very important thing. If I were to say things, in my life that are like, just be more open to who people are. And because everyone has a story and everyone has something that they're learning from someone else or, trying to understand. And I think it would be a much happier, more peaceful place if we just were a little more open and like,
listen.
oh, I see you and I see you.
That's it. I see you.
See you. So I love you.
Love
Thanks
you.
for having me. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah. Love you, darling man. That's the truth.